There are over 2,300 verses in the Bible about money. 2,300. That's more than verses about heaven. More than verses about hell. More than verses about faith and prayer combined. And yet, most Christians can only quote 2 of them. Money is the root of all evil. Which is misquoted. And bring the whole tithe into the storehouse. Which is taken out of context. Here's what nobody tells you: the Bible contains a complete financial system. Diversification. Compound growth. Risk management. Generational wealth transfer. And it's all hiding in plain sight. By the end of this video, you'll understand the biblical money code that most Christians have never been taught. Let's start where the Bible itself starts on money, the book of Proverbs. Written primarily by Solomon, the wealthiest man in biblical history. Adjusted for inflation, his net worth was somewhere around $2.2 trillion. This man knew money. And in Proverbs, he lays down 3 foundational principles that underpin everything else. Principle 1, diligence creates wealth. Proverbs 10 verse 4 in the original Hebrew, lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth. The Hebrew word here is charatz. It doesn't just mean hardworking. It means sharp, decisive, cutting through. The same word is used for a sharpened blade. This isn't about working 80 hours a week. It's about working with precision. The diligent person isn't the one who stays late, it's the one who makes decisions quickly and executes. Principle 2, get advice. Proverbs 15 verse 22, plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed. This is biblical diversification of wisdom. Don't make financial decisions alone. The Hebrew word sod means intimate counsel, not just a financial advisor you pay, but people who know your life. Principle 3, steady wins. Proverbs 13 verse 11, dishonest money dwindles away, but whoever gathers money little by little makes it grow. The Hebrew phrase is yad al yad, literally hand upon hand. Small, consistent actions. This is the biblical version of dollar cost averaging, written 3,000 years before Vanguard existed. 3 principles. Diligence. Counsel. Consistency. That's the foundation. But it gets deeper. Now we go to Deuteronomy chapter 8, one of the most misunderstood passages about wealth in the entire Bible. Verse 18 is quoted constantly. But almost nobody reads the verse before it. Verse 17 is the warning. Verse 18 is the promise. And the order matters. Here's what's happening: Moses is giving his final speech to Israel. They're about to enter the promised land, a land flowing with milk and honey. And Moses knows something about human nature. When you're in the desert, you pray. When you're in the vineyard, you forget who gave you the vineyard. The Hebrew word for ability in verse 18 is koch. It means strength, power, capacity. But here's the key: it's the same word used in Genesis 1 for God's creative power. The same word used when God gives strength to the weary in Isaiah. This isn't just God helps you work hard. This is God imparting creative capacity. The ability to see opportunities others miss. The strength to build something from nothing. That's what the covenant promises. But, and this is the part nobody preaches, the covenant has a condition. Verse 18 ends with, to confirm his covenant. The wealth isn't the point. The covenant is the point. And the covenant has a purpose, so that you may live and increase and enter and possess the land. The wealth is a tool for covenant mission. Not a reward for good behavior. This completely reframes how you think about money. Jesus talked about money more than he talked about prayer. More than faith. More than heaven and hell combined. 16 of his 38 parables are about money and possessions. Why? Because Jesus understood something most pastors don't: how you handle money reveals what you actually believe. Not what you say you believe. What you actually believe. Let's look at the parable of the talents, Matthew 25. A master gives 3 servants different amounts of money. 5 talents. 2 talents. 1 talent. A talent was roughly 20 years of a laborer's wages. The 5-talent servant received about $1.5 million in today's terms. The 1-talent servant got $300,000. The first 2 servants invest and double their money. The master's response? Well done, good and faithful servant. Not well done, good and spiritual servant. Faithful. The 3rd servant buries his talent. He's afraid. He plays it safe. And the master's response is brutal: you wicked, lazy servant. Here's what most people miss: the master isn't angry about the return. He's angry about the fear. The 3rd servant says, I was afraid. Fear paralyzed him. And in the biblical economy, fear-based inaction is unfaithfulness. Jesus is making a radical point: growing what you're given is an act of faithfulness. Not greed. Faithfulness. The question isn't, is it spiritual to invest? The question is it faithful not to? Acts chapter 2 describes the first Christian community. And their financial model was radical, but not in the way most people think. They sold property and possessions to give to anyone who had need. This verse has been used to argue for everything from communism to mandatory wealth redistribution. But that's not what's happening here. The Greek word is epipraskin, it's in the imperfect tense. This means they were selling ongoing, as needed. Not a one-time liquidation. Not a command. A voluntary, continuous practice. And here's the detail that changes everything. Acts 2 verse 46 says they continued meeting in their homes. They still had homes. They hadn't sold everything. They maintained private property while practicing radical generosity. This is the biblical tension. You own things, but you hold them loosely. You build wealth, but it's not yours. You're a steward, not an owner. The early church didn't abolish private property. They abolished selfish property. There's a difference. Now we come to what might be the most practical financial advice in the entire Bible, and it's hidden in a book most people skip. Ecclesiastes 11 verse 2, invest in 7 ventures, yes, in 8. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land. This is biblical diversification, written roughly 3,000 years before Harry Markowitz won a Nobel Prize for modern portfolio theory. The principle is identical, don't put all your eggs in one basket. But the Hebrew is even more interesting. The word for invest here is naten, to give, to place, to distribute. And the number sequence 7, yes, 8 is a Hebrew poetic device called x plus 1 that means more than enough. Diversify beyond what feels comfortable. The next verse, Ecclesiastes 11 verse 4, is equally practical. Whoever watches the wind will not plant, whoever looks at the clouds will not reap. This is the biblical antidote to analysis paralysis. If you wait for perfect conditions, you'll never plant. If you wait for the market to bottom, you'll never invest. The perfect time to start was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. And then verse 6, sow your seed in the morning, and at evening let your hands not be idle, for you do not know which will succeed, whether this or that, or whether both will do equally well. Multiple income streams. Diversified investments. Action over analysis. This isn't Wall Street wisdom, it's Solomon's wisdom. And it's been in your Bible the whole time. Let me give you the complete framework. 7 principles, drawn from every book we've covered. Write these down. 1. Work with precision, not just effort. Proverbs 10 verse 4. The Hebrew charatz means sharp and decisive, not just busy. Focus beats hustle. 2. Seek wise counsel before major decisions. Proverbs 15 verse 22. The Hebrew sod means intimate counsel. Not a YouTube video. Real people who know your situation. 3. Build wealth slowly and consistently. Proverbs 13 verse 11. Hand upon hand. Dollar cost averaging is 3,000 years old. 4. Remember the source. Deuteronomy 8 verse 18. God gives the coach the creative capacity. Stay humble or the vineyard becomes a trap. 5. Grow what you're given. Matthew 25. The parable of the talents. Faithful. Stewardship means active growth, not fearful hoarding. 6. Hold wealth loosely. Acts 2. You're a steward, not an owner. Private property plus radical generosity. Both. Not either. 7. Diversify and act. Ecclesiastes 11. 7 ventures, yes, 8. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Sow morning and evening. These 7 principles form a complete system. And here's what's remarkable, they don't contradict each other. Work hard and hold loosely. Build wealth and give radically. Diversify and trust God. The Bible holds tensions that modern financial advice can't reconcile. Here's the one thing most people miss, the Bible isn't anti-wealth. It's anti-wealth without wisdom. It's anti-wealth without purpose. It's anti-wealth that makes you forget the source. Visual, 3 phrases appear one by one, anti-wealth without wisdom, fades, anti-wealth without purposes fades, anti-wealth that makes you forget, stays, glows gold. The same book that says the love of money is the root of all evil also says God gives you the ability to produce wealth. The same Jesus who told the rich young ruler to sell everything also told the parable of the talents where the faithful servants doubled their money. The question isn't should Christians build wealth? The question is what's the wealth for? If you want to go deeper on any of these principles, I've linked a free study guide in the description. And if this challenged how you think about money and faith, subscribe. I break down ancient wisdom for modern life every single week. Drop a comment, which of the 7 principles hit you the hardest? I read every one. Total estimated runtime, 10 minutes, 600 seconds, word count, 1 450 word style, biblical/historical/theological deep dive palette, cedar and silver, rotated from previous royal indigo plus temple bronze.